Report story. By sync_mx. In their world of superheroes, villains, humans born with quirks that allowed them to complete seemingly impossible tasks. Fly, carry literal tons of weight, shoot lasers out of their stomach. It was a world with endless possibilities, a world that he loved. But still, that world wasn't always the kindest to him. The day was July 15th, which just so happened to be Izuku Midoriya's birthday. A day that he was never extremely fond of. Birthdays were never his favorite. Not that his mother never made it special, but the lack of friends his age made all of his parties slightly reclusive. He still remembered the decorations he would come home to, All Might themed of course. His mother knew him, and he was grateful that someone had. At that point in his life he always seemed to be alone, but she was always there for him. Even with all of her efforts, however, he was still reminded on those days how few other people cared. The one memory he cemented into his mind was when he 12, around a year before he had applied to UA. It was his birthday, and his mother had mentioned inviting the Bakugos over. The once close family of his best friend turned bully. That wasn't exactly a good surprise. He was dreading it. His friend, Kachan, had been tormenting him for years at that point. The idea of spending his birthday with him was a little unnerving. But at the same time, he felt a small sense of gratitude. Like, there was no way he could get treated like he usually did in school. So he would have to be somewhat friends with Kachan again. He remembered thinking that just for one night, things could go back to the way they were before. Of course, Kachan never showed up, only his mother did. That had stung. But now was different. Now he had friends, so many friends. He was so grateful for them all, even Kachan, who since first year had gotten much easier to handle. Perhaps it was their shared secret that had brought them closer, but he always felt like it was a little more than that. Nevertheless, his friends cared for him. They all cared for him so much. Back in first year they hadn't really celebrated his birthday. It was right around the infamous summer camp incident and, well, he didn't really want to celebrate it. He fondly remembered how Iida, Todoroki, Uraraka and a few other classmates had gotten him some small gifts. It was more than he had ever gotten before from someone who wasn't a relative, so it was a strange feeling of gratitude. For some reason, as he remembered their gifts, Uraraka's lingered on his mind for just a bit longer. Ochako Uraraka, quite possibly his best friend. Having her around made even his worst days bearable. She was always working hard to reach her goals. She definitely was one of his biggest inspirations in life. Her bright smile as she said hello to him in the morning was like a shot of caffeine. He never drank coffee, but her happiness and kindness was enough to jumpstart his day. An All Might themed pen, that was what she had gotten him last year. A symbol of their friendship, a simple pen that had his favorite hero on it, his mentor, their teacher, the one he looked up to the most. A pen that he still used to this day. He couldn't help the smile that creeped onto his face as he remembered how she had given it to him. Floating it across the room while he wasn't looking, utilizing her quirk to remove the gravity from the present, and him opening his eyes to a small wrapped box. She treated him too well. Sometimes he thought that he didn't deserve her kindness, her gratitude, her friendship. He could attest to this, of course. Ever since the end of first year he had started to look at her differently. Not that he was creep. He just picked up on a few things. Mainly her hair, how it had grown ever so slightly to rest on her shoulders. Or how she tucked a loose strand behind her ear whenever she was a bit nervous. Really, the main thing he had started to notice was how absolutely beautiful she was. Promoted stories. You'll also like. After all. Fluke 11.4K 802. Will edit once I'm free. N. This is a work of fiction, and any similarity with other works is purely coincidental. Excuse grammatical errors and misspellings, Eng. Finished. 28.5K 508 tilde he save all of them just a smile plastered on his face before disappearing through the wind. Izuku's Harem Academia 189K 1.8 Cust. Read. I am, sequel of, UR check mark 69.5K 1.8K this. Book is the sequel of, You Are So Better read that first before going here tears of joy thank you to that one reader that suggested this title. I can't see you sad face but thank you. The Kings and Queen Yandere Wakfu X Reader 58.1K 1.8 Kyonder. Wakfu X Reader. Images do not belong to me unless stated. Wakfu does not belong to me, it belongs to Enigma. This is being rewritten in another book on my profile. Feelings. Izawa. X-Reader 57.2K 1.3K RE posting. This until I edit it, sorry if it's not good, it's my first time writing a story. You enroll at UA and you have multiple quirks you are really good at using, why? Mirko X Shy Male Reader 173K 1.1 Key. Don't own MHA. I hope you enjoy the story I made. Oria. Midoriya. AH. He screamed, looking around to find the entire class looking at him and giggling. I'm sorry, sir. Must have spaced out. A loud sigh came from his teacher, before he turned around to the chalkboard once again. It's fine, just try and pay more attention. I was asking you whether or not y in this equation would be positive or negative. He couldn't help but notice how his friend Iida, the class rep, was sending him a death glare for not paying attention. He had no idea how to answer this, so he thought he might as well just guess. It was a 50-50 chance, right? It would be, positive. Please be right. That's correct. He let out an audible, phew, which garnered another round of chuckles from his classmates. The heat rising to his cheeks was enough for him to bury his face in his arms. He couldn't catch a break with himself. After a few seconds he peeked his head out from his small shelter, only to lock eyes with brown ones sitting across the room. Of course, the girl that had been distracting his thoughts, Uraraka. She smiled brightly at him, giggling under her breath before turning around and shaking her head in a playful manner. His face suddenly got a lot hotter. As the day went on, the only thing that was on his mind was Uraraka. Through the study hall, and all of his regular classes, he couldn't get her off his mind. This wasn't too out of the norm for him. The prospect of Uraraka being on his mind was one he dealt with every day. She was just so awesome. Whether it was when she trained her quirk for hours on end, or helped him understand some math problem that was eating away at him, math had always been her best subject, and subsequently his worst. She was just amazing. Young Midoriya. A familiar voice snapped him from his thoughts. Huh. He quickly replied, blushing slightly from his inherent daydreaming. You were just saying how you had gotten a better handle on your new quirk, Black Whip. All Might asked, taking a sip from his tea. Oh right, he had been talking to All Might a few minutes ago. He must have spaced out again. He needed to stop doing that. Oh, right, yeah. I can finally, well, I might as well show you. Taking a deep breath, he extended his arm, feeling the now familiar tightening around his heart. Black tendrils creeped its way out of his sleeve. It reached, grabbing onto All Might's teacup and hovering it a few feet above the table where the two were sharing their lunch. Another tendril shot out, taking the steaming hot kettle and moving it quickly to pour more tea into the raised cup. He could see All Might's eyes widen at the feat, as the tendrils sat down the items and retreated back into his body. Izuku could admit that he felt a little proud of himself as All Might gawked at his progress. That's incredible. Midoriya, do you realize that it was not 6 months ago that you became aware of this quirk? And now, All Might smiles earnestly, now the precision you have over it is impeccable. The amount of use this will be in rescue situations and maneuverability in general, it is unprecedented. As the day furthered, he found something new to think about, other than Uraraka and her beautiful eyes, of course. His progress was impressive, at least to All Might. A part of him was proud of himself too, but he knew he needed more. He recently learned of Nana Shimura's quirk, Float, that would be his next step. It's odd, how as he made it through one of the last days of school before their break, and made it back to the dorms, he kind of forgot about his birthday. And, it seemed like everyone else did as well. He had been distracted, so it wasn't crossing his mind, but no one had wished him a happy birthday today. All Might had, naturally, he had even received a present from his mentor as well. An old Silver Age costume he had put in retirement after it had been torn to shreds. He cherished it dearly, but it was a bit odd how the rest of his class hadn't said anything. He assumed it wasn't inherently malice in nature. The school didn't announce it over the loudspeaker or something crazy like that. It's not like they had a reason to remember the specific day his birthday was. But still, they had known last year. And he hadn't even said anything about when it was back then. Maybe he was just overreacting. He hadn't gone to lunch that day because he was with All Might. But they could have said it as they passed by in the halls or in one of their classes. He twirled the All Might pen she had given him last year in between his fingers. Leaning back in his desk chair, staring at the wall, biting his lip. All he was doing was bumming himself out. He was definitely overreacting, for all he knew they had just forgotten. It still stung, even if they did just forget. For some reason, Uraraka forgetting, hurt just a bit more than everyone else. His mind was scattered once he heard a few knocks on his door, and in a short second he had bolted to open it. Hey. Eyes widening, he stared at the girl in front of his dormitory door. It was Uraraka. You Uraraka. What's up? Hey Deku. The guys cooked dinner and they wanted me to fetch you since it's done. Uraraka exclaimed brightly, a small smile on her face as she awaited his response. For a second he had thought she was coming to wish him a happy birthday, but the realization that she had actually forgotten almost hit him like a truck. Not only her, everyone else as well. He took a moment to steel himself before he forced a smile. Sure, I was about to head down anyway. It didn't matter, she didn't mean anything by it. None of them did, he would just forget about it for now. As they began walking towards the elevator, Izuku couldn't help but notice something was wrong. Uraraka was walking a step ahead of him, so he couldn't see her face, but she was gripping her hands behind her back rather tightly. Maybe it was just his imagination, but did she seem nervous? Once they made it into the elevator, he realized that his assumptions were correct. She was definitely nervous, because who else stands right in front of the door, like inches away from the door, when riding in an elevator? If it hadn't been for his earlier pining, and admittedly his own nervousness, he would have said something. Maybe if he had a few more seconds he would have said something. But right when the elevator stopped, the doors opened to pitch black, and the girl in front of him darted out in the sea of darkness. You Uraraka, he called out, running out into the darkness after her. Suddenly, he heard a flick as the bright lights of the dormitory common room switched on that revealed the entire class standing in front of him, their arms shooting up, and screaming in unison. Surprise! His eyes widened. Happy birthday Midori. Midoriya happy B-day man. Ah, Midoriya happy birthday monsieur. Midoriya, have a very happy and safe birthday. The cheers and wishes from around him nearly brought tears to his eyes. They hadn't forgotten, it was simply a plan for his surprise party. Sato had baked him a cake, Todoroki and Bakugo helped cook the dinner, and a large amount of presents sat on the coffee table in the living room. He couldn't stop smiling, no matter how hard he tried. Thank you guys, so much. Well, it's only natural Deku. Uraraka smiled on his side. Last year we didn't get to celebrate. So we wanted to do something special. You mean a lot to all of us. He loved his friends so much. He loved her so much. As the party went on throughout the night, the dinner having been eaten, his presents open, and a few people finally starting to retreat back to their rooms. He noticed Uraraka began to squirm on his side. Uraraka. Is everything all right? Huh? She exclaimed, seemingly surprised he had noticed. Oh. Yeah, everything is all right, Deku. Sorry to make you worry. It's fine. He leaned back on the short couch they shared. You can talk to me, you know. She seemed to pause, indeed thought for a split second, before shaking her head and smiling once more. I know. I'm fine, it's just I feel bad having ignored you all day. It was all a part of the plan, but I could tell you were probably mad at us, mad at me. His eyes widened. Uraraka. No, don't feel bad at all, I was fine. Trust me. Without thinking, he brought a hand up to her shoulder. I could never be mad at you, I promise. For a second, their eyes met, and she could tell he was telling the truth. Like she had been caught staring, her head snapped down, leaving him to gaze at the top of her head. He hadn't realized his hand was on her shoulder, but when he did, it snapped down just as fast. Sore. Deku. Uraraka looked up, staring directly at him. I have one more gift for you. His curiosity got the better of him. She had already given him a gift. A bag of decently expensive mochi that he had said he liked a while ago. But what other gift did she go out of the way to get him? She paused, reaching behind her and pulling out a white envelope. This. Just, don't open it until you go back upstairs, alright? His eyes lingered on the envelope for a second longer. Oh, okay. She shoved it into his hands, before standing up. I'm gonna hit the hay myself. I think I should get to bed. I want to train early tomorrow. He stood up after her. Sure. Yeah, maybe I'll join you. I planned on training myself tomorrow anyway. There was a small period of awkward silence that followed. He couldn't see her face. It was covered by her small bangs, like a shadow was obstructing its view. Then, just as quickly as it came, the tension left as she leaned in and gave his cheek a small kiss. Happy birthday, Deku. He froze, watching as she scurried off to the elevators. She had kissed him, albeit on the cheek, but it was still a kiss. From her, the person he liked, no, loved more than anything. She was so great, funny, kind, hardworking, strong, and she had kissed him. His legs had never run faster. He needed to get upstairs and open that envelope. It had been a letter. Asterisk 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 asterisk. Dear Deku. Hey. Haha. Sorry, that was stupid. Happy birthday. First off, I'm sorry no one said anything all day. We are planning a surprise party that I think you'll love. Sato is baking, even Bakugo is helping Todoroki cook. It'll be great. Anyway, if you're reading this, I somehow worked up enough courage to actually give this to you. Part of me just wants to write this and give it to you right now, but that would be silly. It's like 3:30 in the morning, you're asleep, you don't need me knocking on your door right now. Back to the point of this. It's hard for me to say out loud because I get so flustered. But I wanted to tell you how amazing you were. How much you inspire everyone. How much you inspire me. Everything you do keeps me going, keeps me striving to be a better hero. And for that I wanted to thank you. And I wanted to tell you something that I don't think I have the courage to say in person. But it's to the point where I can't not tell you. Pretty stupid, right? You're my best friend, and I can't even tell you 3 words. Alright, here it goes. I love you. Like, a lot. So much that I can't hide it anymore. I tried, I didn't want to distract either of us from our goals. But my feelings themselves became a distraction. I don't want this to ruin our friendship, and I understand if you don't feel the same way. I really hope you feel the same way. I shouldn't have wrote that. I'm being stupid, I know. But if you don't, it's okay. Just please make sure we stay friends, okay? I love you in more ways than one. I never want to lose what we have. It's too important to me, so please, if you don't feel the same way, just pretend like you never read this letter and we can go back to the way it was. But, if you do come see me, please. I know I just wrote that I was too nervous. But I want to be next to you. I want to tell you in person. I want. Anyway. Happy birthday, Deku. Love. Ochako Uraraka. Asterisk 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 asterisk. He had already left for her room when he read the words, "I love you." Where stories live. Discover now.